Today, I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. This logical next step will give our committees the full power to gather all the facts and answers for the American public. The American people deserve to know that the public offices are not for sale, and that the federal government is not being used to cover up the actions of a politically associated family. Now, I would encourage the President and his team to fully cooperate with this investigation in the interests of transparency.
The reason you heard him say that he was directing a committee to launch an inquiry and not here's a vote that is scheduled now to go to the floor is because immediately he doesn't have that political support. How do you move through this in a way that doesn't necessarily blow up in your face, given, as you all have said, we have not seen any evidence, hard evidence, directly connecting wrongdoing on the part of then Vice President Biden, now President Biden, and Hunter Biden's business dealings or the ongoing Hunter Biden investigation.
Today, I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
This is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. On September 12th, he opened an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, who is seeking re-election in 2024. Let me explain. The move to impeach Biden comes as hard-right conservative lawmakers threaten to drive McCarthy out as Speaker. For this impeachment inquiry, McCarthy cited allegations of abuse of power and corruption. He also said this action is focused on whether President Biden benefited from his son Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine and elsewhere, among other issues.
House Republicans have uncovered serious and credible allegations into President Biden's conduct. Taken together, these allegations paint a picture of a culture of corruption.
But House Republicans have not put forth any direct evidence. The move to impeach President Biden in the midst of the 2024 presidential campaign is creating tensions between the White House and Congress. According to the Associated Press, the White House called the action extreme politics at its worst. Impeachment inquiries open formal investigations into federal officials. While the House of Representatives has the power to impeach a federal official, only the Senate can convict and remove them from office. This last occurred with former President Donald Trump, who was impeached twice in the House but acquitted by the Senate.
Together a case, and I think we've done that very well. We've shown the bank records. If I had subpoenaed Joe and Hunter Biden the first day I became chairman of the committee, it would have been tied up in court and the judge would have eventually thrown it out, because at that time the narrative was, well, they never took any money while he was vice president. He never had any communication with his business associates, and the money never came from China. We've had to go every step of the way and prove the media narrative was wrong and the vice president and the current president lied. We have caught Joe Biden in so many lies, I can't even count the number of lies now. So we have put together a case that I think would stand up in any court of law in America, and we hope to hear from the Biden soon. But I wish the media would ask the president, what exactly did your family do to receive this $21 million that the House Oversight Committee has proven? He just continues to say, well, that's a lie. That's not true. We have their bank records, Maria. Bank records don't lie.
How many people were involved in covering this up so it wouldn't come out? Wouldn't come out during the Obama administration and toward the end of it. And it certainly wouldn't come out when Biden was running for president. I mean, how many people are we talking about, you think?
Well, let's start at the top. We know Merrick Garland has told the National Archives not to cooperate with us. We know that someone told the IRS whistleblowers to stand down. We know that just this week there were Secret Service agents who were working with us on trying to identify the people who tipped off the Biden legal team that the IRS was fixing to knock on the door. And our sources at the Secret Service say that Mayorkas called them to tell them to stop cooperating with Comer and the Oversight Committee. So Mayorkas and Merrick Garland are part of the cover-up. These are the two arguably highest-ranking people in the Biden administration.
Congressman, and about that fateful day we were discussing when that communication between Hunter's partner Schwerin and the White House comms director, didn't the vice president travel somewhere right after that? And where was that?
He traveled to Ukraine right after that. I mean, we're putting together the timeline. We've been able to get all of the wire transfers. We've got the correspondence. We've got sworn testimony. Now we're putting the timeline traveling where Joe Biden traveled. And you know, there's a pattern here, Laura. He did this in Romania. He did this in China. He did this in Ukraine. The three countries that have paid his family millions of millions of dollars that they can't account for. Never, not one time has anyone from the White House or anyone from representing Joe Biden said exactly what this family did to receive the money. I think we're starting to figure it out, especially with Ukraine. He went there to fire the prosecutor who was investigating his son for corruption.
And going for another $1 billion to Ukraine yesterday through Blinken. Congressman, thank you so much.
Republican voter. You've been a Republican voter, yeah?
Correct.
So how do you feel about the Republican Party?
I don't think the
FDR?
Republican Party exists anymore in the United States. And some sign of that is the last time there was a Republican presidential campaign, they didn't have a platform. But they don't stand for anything. It is a cult of personality. And it's just about hating and grievance, and it's centered on this person.
It's been going on for 7 years.
And so there's a cynical, deeply cynical crust at the top, and then a whole lot of people who've been harvested by a demagogue.
Our country is going to hell.
This was the great fear of the founders in America, and we're seeing a once, not just in a lifetime, once in many lifetimes demagogue.
They come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI.
The notion that the FBI is a bunch of leftists bent on destroying Republicans in the United States is so crazy that just to say it out loud seems silly.
It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax.
But there are millions of Americans who believe that because it's been repeated over and over and over again.
It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost and we won.
He has eroded a norm in America, which is that there is a touchstone. The truth is real. There is a touchstone that is the truth, and we measure our leaders by their tether to that touchstone.
Number one, I'm an honest person.
The danger I saw in Trump and still see is that the lies are so extensive that they could wash away the touchstone, and we would stop judging without even realizing it, but drop the norm that it matters whether our leaders tell the truth or not.
It's a false statement, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
He did that by beating down the press.
No, not you. Not you.
If I may ask one other question.
And it's a long walk back from a place where we've lost that at the center of American life.
My opinion to the media, it's very low.
On top of that, closer to my work, is he's intentionally taken a flamethrower to the Department of Justice and the FBI for reasons that I understand. If you think about his worldview, he knew if a threat was going to come to him, that's where it would come. And so he would prep that battlefield by burning it down long in advance. And now he's pulling on those reserves among his supporters. I told you they were corrupt. I told you they were evil. And that's a dangerous place to be, because you can criticize and should criticize government institutions, but we need to see those justice institutions as separate from the political.
And even put their political opponents in prison. I think they'd like to see me in prison. Can you imagine?
You cannot take this election off and think, well, we fixed that, because the threat is in some ways more severe.
Biggest worry if there was a second Trump presidency, what more damage could he do?
I'm loath to be too prescriptive because I can see ways that he could do more damage.
Also, you don't want to give him ideas.
Correct.
I suppose.
Correct. Maybe I'll just say it in this way. I think he understands better how things work, and his supporting cast would be even deeper towards the bottom of the barrel than the last time. And so he would be the retribution president with a better understanding of the levers of power, surrounded by a group of people who are looking to burn it all down.
So where do they go if you, as you say, the real Republican Party has disappeared?
Well, for now, all thoughtful, principled Republicans need to go, and most have gone, to address the threat. I mean, I campaigned for Joe Biden, and they should do so again, because this is above any policy disagreements. I mean, we have robust disagreements in America about, as you do here, about all kinds of policy issues. Okay, great. That's what a democracy should be about. But above those disagreements are things that are common ground. The rule of law, for example. And so the voting and the activism has to be aimed at that and we'll get back to important disagreements about taxation or regulation, but those things pale in comparison to the threat to the thing above.